So, I made a video in the past about this Australia is heading to cashless society, and this is based on resources and things like that. Now I've got another one. Australia is thinking of or in the process of installing AI camera, right? And what I would like to talk about in this video is to see how we're being progresses through to reach to that stage. First things first is let's talk about surveillance camera when it first introduced. I remember, you guys may remember the reality show Big Brother, and you have all these. I think it's a UK show, right? So UK was the first country and the most surveillance camera. And after the show was reintroduced, and that's when they install all the cameras, try to be safe and things like that, as they have the technology to surveillance people or on the public 24/7. Right. So you have that. So Big Brother was the show that people was a big thing in the 2000s. And then you get to see their life and how they behave. And apparently, I just did a bit of research. Apparently, Big Brother is still on. So, okay. I remember when he did introduce. I remember I was watching news, and the news was like saying, "Oh, Big Brother show," and then we have this 24/7 technology. We want to install these in our landmarks. For example, in Australia, in Sydney, we have the Sydney Harbour Bridge, or certain areas, certain space, and it became a thing, and it started to spread throughout city over time, and to make more safe, secure, monitored. That was the thing, monitored. Now, I know people say, "Well, we're entering the George Orwellian society," even though I haven't read the book, but I understand his theory and how surveillance and things like that. But however, what I have learnt from sociology under Michel Foucault. Michel Foucault is about try to, instead of back in the days you have the kings and the police, like heavy duty surveillance the whole town or locals. Why don't we just have professionals to step in and see what's best within the society, what makes the society norms, and perhaps the most popular example in his theory is Pinnacle Jail. So his theory was, I think it was octagon or hexagon jail cell. So you can imagine so this round thing is the jail. So the jail cells, and then there's a tower in the middle. It's like a surveillance. So you cannot see through because it has blinds, so you can't tell whether there's workers there or not. So people start behaving themselves. It changed their behavior. Try to be cautious. Try not to be committing crime or spreading bad behavior, because they say, "Oh, the watchtower's there. Gotta be good behave. You always be surveillance." So over time, they don't have a worker in the watchtower. So it created this sort of sense of saying, for the prisoners, like saying, "Oh, look what happened there." Even though they wouldn't know if there's someone's looking at it or not, but they'd be best behavior. Now, Michel Foucault is saying, instead of having the state or church or the kings to look after the society, why don't you give the professionals to deal with a better way, instead of committing, because back in the days, kings and churches, they just started to kill and slaughter, and it was effective at the beginning, but later on, it's still ongoing thing, and they wanted to find an effective method. So having the profession to look into it would find a way to solve it. So you have that. So the professionals, they bring their advice, their knowledge in the society, making the society according to what the kings and the emperors or the presidents or what they call it back in the days to make the society safer, better, less criminal. Try to minimize and try to control it in a way. So then you have cameras. Then you taught people how to behave certainly, and when someone behaves badly or out of the social norm, they're being judged, they're being looked, they're being what is the word for it? They've been looked upon. That's the word. They get in trouble. It's like a dibble dobber. You're being dobbed in. So it doesn't feel good when everyone's looking at it, because in different society you have special norms or cultures that's seen as normal. If you're seen as abnormal, you get told off. So that was one of the areas. So that's why we behave certain way. That's why vlogging, it's not everyone can do it, because you have that social pressure norm. They're talking to the camera on the street, right? And it's out of the norm. You don't do that, because you might record some other people or background or at the front, and you record at the front. So that's why I'll give you a good example. Vlogging. So you have that, and this is my speculation, my perspective, and how they will draw the AI camera. Now, first things first, I had this flashback moment. I remember when I was 11, the day September 11, right? No, I didn't turn 11. I'm just saying the same year I was 11 years old, and the day September 11. I was hanging out with my childhood friends circle. My socialization was always been Middle Eastern. I always hang around with Iraqi, Afghani, Irani, Syrian, and and African descent countries as well. I never hang out with my own kind, Chinese, if you guys are curious about it. So they told me the CIA who did the bombing, it wasn't the Muslim. And this was just the day or second day after. That was my friend circle told me it was the CIA. And after a couple of years later, then this conspiracy theory talking about it was the CIA. It was well prepared. I'm not gonna touch on this conspiracy theory, but now you bring it in today's world, right? So now terrorism has committed crime all over the world, and a lot of people says the hardest war to ever fight in is urban warfare, which mean enemies within the country, because you cannot distinguish who's a criminal or who's a terrorist. It's hard to find, because you can't tell, you cannot generalize, and plus having this political correctness society does not make anything easier. So you have that. So now you can see that you see a lot of crime has been going. You've been hearing news like these people get away from bail, they're committing crime or rape or whatever. So you have that, right? And I just forgotten something I was about to say. And this is where the political correctness comes in. Yeah, I remember now. They try to silence people, saying something that is against their human right, third and second and first generation of human rights, and that therefore you can see words is crime nowadays. Then you can see like self-claimed Milo or Tommy or other people, Lauren Southern or Stephen Molyneux, they will shut them down, they'll call the police, and even Abbey just recently, the Labour Party, who dobbed them in because apparently he committed a crime or something like that. So right now words are crime, thoughts are crime. So we living in a society now, words are crime. Now I know every single society has certain issues that you cannot talk about, but now it's getting so broad, we don't know what's the PC. It's so broad. The only thing I know is intersectionality within that graph. You do not talk about any of those. Racism, sexism, and all this stuff you cannot talk about. So let's fast forward. All right. So you have that. So you got the policing state. So therefore, the surveillance and the Michelle Foucault is to create a policing. Now, for those who does not know, the communism is countries like North Korea and perhaps China. Back in the days when they don't have technology or anything like that, when communism was uprise, you cannot have that words, certain words. Just for example, let's say, oh, F the dictator, or F this, or I wanted to do this and do that. You get in trouble. You get into concentration camp because your surrounding will dob you in, saying that, oh, he's a bad citizen. He wants to take this government down. He doesn't like communism. He doesn't like the Red Book, or things like that. So you have that. It's been created in the past, but now, as population is growing, society is moving more to technology society. Crimes is committing in a very different way. Instead of having arms and robberies, now they can do white collar crimes instead of blue collar crimes. So they need to find a way to control. So one part aspect is the terrorism attack. They need to find a way of how to sustain it, how to monitor, how they're supposed to know it's an income threat. So having the AI camera will solve the problem, because as you see, I've made a video in the past about the social credit in China, where the AI camera and how they credit you and things like that. In the future, they will be having that sort of technology. There's already technology for it. The parliament is fighting it through with having this sort of technology, because a lot of people are taking loopholes or doing certain things, like for example, committing crime in this state and escape to another state is a loophole. It doesn't mean you committed a crime. You've gone clean to the second state. Or another loophole is saying like skilled migrant has to stay in certain city or state to order to get the points. How to monitor. You have one is to monitor your bank account, right? So your bank account transaction, you got one of them, right? So, but having the AI camera can really track you, where you are, where you're in all the time, so they know, because right now everything is monitored. And another one is tax evasion and things like that. They want to monitor everything. So right now they're giving you loopholes and saying, yeah, you can do that, you can do that. Oh gosh, these laws, oh gosh, it's not under this law, blah blah blah. How do we diminish this whole thing? How do we make this whole thing efficient, catching the bad people, doing this sort of stuff? So they have that. Now, what I do know is the fact that because I live in Australia, city Sydney is under New South Wales state. Next 2 years, the government has introduced no more driver license. So they wouldn't print out one of these cards, right? So instead of that, they will have e-driver license. So you can pretty much just say, oh, you know what? Go onto your phone and show me your e-driver license. So in the future, they probably have police will have AI camera to capture you. Are you the right person? By reading your face, points, access points. Where China at the moment, in Shenzhen and Shanghai, I've seen the video clips about it. The way how they read or how they pick it up on people, like see their facial, because China right now is advanced, has already implemented AI cameras, more than 22 million of them. So what they do is before you leave the airport, they have to scan you. Right, you have to scan your fingers, right, thumbs as well. It's like we're going back to ancient. Instead of having signature, you have your thumb, the blood for your signature. So we're going back to identity and your face, and you have to go like that, that, and it scans the whole thing. So they can read you. So first thing, you have the policing state, and second of all, you have the face reading. So, and the last thing that I mentioned to you, terrorism will be the one of the areas that the government try to tackle down, and having the AI camera will do that. If you track down who's on the watch list or who's the threat, so you're having that, and the Australian government is trying to find ways of how to tackle this terrorism, even though there's 400 people on the watch list. they wanted to spend 1 billion to tackle or resolve or minimize the issue, or how they come into income threat. So we're slowly adapting, accepting, because we are forced to, because the media is playing a good role. Media saying that, oh, you tax invasion, you are bad, or you skilled migrant, or you educated migrant, you're a refugee, you should be staying in that town, you're bad, you're breaking the rules, you go to another state, you go to another town, you're supposed to stay in this town even though it's a country, there's nothing, it's a shithole, but you promised it on oath or next minute, and it slowly normalize everything. And even I use BlackBerry. Nowadays phone, you can use your face recognition, to unlock your phone. Or, before that, you can do the finger scan. I know in China at the moment, even I know Alibaba, Alipay, they use face recognition for your payment instead of having PIN code. I remember when I was in KFC, there was self checkout, McDonald's, the big screen. They have the same thing in KFC, but they have the camera for the AI to find out to do the payment. So they scan your face under the Alipay. So we are slowly adapting, accepting technology step by step all the way through. Now, like I said to you before, I never read George Orwell's. So I'm pretty sure that's what George Orwell is talking about. So that's the topic that I'd like to address and talk about. So you can't understand what I'm trying to get to, and how it's going to be implemented. God knows, are we going to have social credit in the future in Australia or Western world, or are we going to follow the same thing as what China do? Because a lot of them is George Orwell. Whether it's a good thing or bad thing, I'm just trying to give you the timeline and squeeze it through in saying this is how it works. So that's about it. That's the video. I hope I can upload this right now.